Hey, welcome back to Demo's Reef, part 2 of this Tunze Stream 3 review. Let's get this thing in the tank and see what it can do. Okay, so you can see at the moment I've got the Stream 3 placed in the back corner, and I'm actually cheating a little bit here. Probably the only reason you can see it is actually you can see the reflection in the glass at the side, and the reason I've done that is so you can have a look with it alongside a Vortech MP40. One of the comments that I got when I said I was going to review this pump was people were like, oh, it's so big, and they weren't really too sure they could hide it. But there's a variety of different mounting options, and in this tank I've placed it in the back corner, and I've used the flow director to point the water out over the top of the reef. As you can see, it's giving really nice circulation. It's running a pulse mode that's only at about 50% power, so you can see it's moving a lot of water, but actually it's actually quite discreet, so it's not that difficult to hide it. So this is a slightly closer shot so that you're not seeing the side glass with the reflections, and I think actually you'd be pretty hard pushed to see that pump in that back corner at all. What you can see is pushing a lot of water across the surface. It's got a lot of surface disruption, and you could move the flow director around to get that pointing exactly how you want it. If you look at the torch corals on the left and the hammers sort of down on the bottom left, you can see they're getting lots of flow, lots of movement. And in this instance, I think the pump is probably circulating through the back of the reef and pulling up and over a lot better than the Vortech previously was. Okay, so this is a slightly different view, and this is the view from the end of the tank, and the aquascape was designed so that you could enjoy the tank from the front and from the end, because it's sort of sat in the corner of our room. And the reason I'm showing you this is, again, people were suggesting that the Stream 3 would be difficult to hide, or it'd be, it's a large pump, it'd be difficult to sort of get it out of the way. But first off, I'm just showing you this is the usual setup with the MP40 at the other end. So when you sat here and you're having a look, that's kind of the most obvious thing. And in order to get the right flow pattern in the tank, there's not a great deal I can do about the positioning of that, but I'm just going to actually stop the video and I'm just going to go and remove that for a moment. Okay, so I've got the Vortech out of the way, and what you can see is that from this end of the tank now, you can't see the Stream 3 at all. But what you can also see, bearing in mind that the Stream 3 is sat in the back corner at the opposite end of the tank, if you take a look at the torch coral up here, top left, and then the goniopera in the middle, and also the Monty sitting there with all its sweeper tentacles blowing around, you can see there's actually plenty of nice water movement, so there is no problem at all getting the flow all the way down here from the other back corner. And at the moment I've got this on a pulse setting, and I think it's actually below 50% power, so there's plenty of capacity there. I'll just drop the camera down a little bit so you can see these hammers and frog spawns and zoas and everything at this end of the tank. And you can see that there's absolutely no problem with the amount of flow that's getting here. In fact, actually, I think that's probably a little bit better than the way it was running with the Vortech. Okay, so just crank the power up a bit on this, and you can see a lot of surface disruption, and things are really starting to move around there. So when you turn the power up a bit, it's really starting to get things moving in the tank. Alright, so something else I'm going to take a look at, or more appropriately take a listen to. When I said I was going to review this, one of my buddies on Ultimate Reef was really curious about how loud it is now. With the new technology, Tunze suggesting that, you know, less friction, that this thing is basically silent. So what I'm going to say is it's not completely silent, what I'm hearing right now, and bearing in mind that this pump has just gone in the tank today, so you know it's not had any chance to run in or anything else. Maybe I'll take another look at this in a couple of weeks when it's run in. But what you can hear, I think, basically is just the movement of the water. So you know, when I've got it at the moment, it's set on a pulse mode, so it's a little bit the same as the Vortech. You can hear it sort of spin up and down. There's really no other noise than that. But anyway, what I've done is I've got the decibel meter running on my iPhone. So at the moment everything is running, and just to give you an idea, you know, with most of what I can hear right now is actually the Vectra, which is running in the sump. Now, in a moment I'm going to turn that off, but for now this is kind of the ambient noise level with the pump. So it's not changing a great deal, so I'm just going to go shut some other things down and see how much difference that actually makes. Okay, so the only thing running at the moment is the Stream 3, and I've got to be honest, I can barely hear it at all now. I've got very sensitive ears. If there's sound to be heard, I'll be hearing it. In terms of the actual decibels, really all I'm picking up is the ambient noise level. There's not a great deal of difference there. You can see that picking up as I'm talking. And the ambient level's sitting around about 47, 48. So there's really no noise from that pump at all. It's not very scientific. I'm not claiming any sort of great technical testing there, but with the other things turned off, I can barely hear the pump at all. Okay, so this is as close to the action as I can get here without putting the camera in the water. I'm just going to leave this for a few seconds and just see if you can hear anything. I can't hear a great deal. Okay, in this part of the test, you can see at the moment I'm running the Vortech MP40, and why am I doing that in a Stream 3 review? And the reason I'm doing that is I just wanted to highlight a couple of small differences in the flow patterns created. So as you can see, I've got quite a bit of LPS and some soft corals as well as SPS in my tank, and the Vortech is sitting over on the right hand side, and that means that I've had to sort of be careful where I place everything, because the Vortech, you know, produces a huge amount of water movement. Now the interesting thing with the Vortech, and I'm figuring that for the mainly SPS guys actually this is ideal, the Vortech produces a really wide direct amount of flow, but because the Vortech is flat and you can't orientate it or direct the flow, it basically just goes in a straight line. And what you can see is that my goniopera there is tending to sort of get beaten down a little bit. So I'm not highlighting this as a bad thing about the Vortech. The Vortech's a great pump. You can do some really amazing different programs with it. But in a moment I'm going to show you how the Stream 3 running in a vertical position produces a completely different type of flow. Alrighty, so I've now switched over to the Stream 3. This is running at about 50% power in a pulse mode, so actually more or less the same as what you were seeing with the Vortech MP40. And hopefully what you can now see, what I was talking about in terms of the flow patterns, the way I've got this directed, it's in the back right corner, and it's pumping more or less diagonally down the length of the tank. But initially the flow is going up and over. What you can see is that that's getting a lot more movement over on the left hand side of the tank. So if you can sort of see the hammers and frog spawns and the torch coral on the left, they're getting plenty of movement. And I think the green one next to the Goni there is a Galaxia. Somebody might be able to correct me, but it's actually throwing a lot of sweepers out now, so that's, you know, that's obviously feeling the flow and getting activated. But the most interesting thing that I've noticed with this flow pattern is that the Goni Opera in the middle is lifting up, and also a small one on the sand near the clam that also is lifting up. And I noticed as soon as I start using the Stream 3, the LPS in the tank, they all seem to get quite activated. So, you know, maybe that's something you're not going to see in every tank. There's certainly plenty of flow. You can see the movement between the polyps with the stylos in the middle at the top. There's nice circulation all the way around the back, and you know, at the end of the day you can't really see the pump that much. Now before I pull the pump out, what I'm going to do is place it on the front glass so you can have a better look at it. I'm just actually going to crank it up because I know you want me to. Alright, so that's at about 75% power, and hopefully you can see that that is a lot. Now obviously bearing in mind my tank is only small, it's a 250 litre tank. This pump is probably you know, capable of, you know, grossly overpowered for my tank, as was the Vortech, so I probably wouldn't be running it at this amount of power in normal use, but I just figured you'd like to see what it can actually do. And I'll just zoom in on a couple of areas in the tank to let you see that. Alright, so I've got the Stream 3 moved to the front of the tank, and we've got an extreme close-up because what I want to show you is one nice feature, which is the soft start. So I'm just going to go ahead and plug that in, and you'll see it slowly spin up. And away it goes. You'll notice I've taken the flow director off as well, so you can use it with or without. And I'll just pull the zoom back out so we can get a better look at it. Okay, so you're seeing the pump here without the flow grid fitted. So Tunze suggests that using it this way you get the broadest flow, the strongest flow, and also the pump's going to operate, you know, most efficiently and at its quietest. I'm just going to pop the flow grid on. Okay, so this is the pump running with the flow grid attached. So you can see there's sort of that hexagonal sort of plate across the front, and Tunze say that you get the most gentle and uniform flow with this. And also you can't get fish and crabs and everything climbing into there, but there is another feature that I haven't mentioned so far with the Stream 3, and it has you know, a protection technology. So basically if you get something trapped in there, the pump automatically will detect that and stop itself. Now I'm not going to risk damaging the pump in testing that for you guys, but I'm assured by the Tunze distributors here in Australia that they have tested it, and that does indeed work. So that's a nice feature. I don't think with anemones in the tank I'd still be risking running this pump without some sort of foam or mesh cover, and I'll come back to that one later as well. Okay, so using the pump horizontally, you can also use the flow director as well, and that basically gives you a lot of different options about where you want to point the flow. You can then angle that up and down, so I could see if you're using this at the back of your tank alongside a weir or something like that, you might want to push the flow out and around the end of your tank, and that's going to work perfectly fine with that. Okay, and as with almost all pumps these days, the Stream 3 has one touch food mode, so if we go ahead and hit that, you can see the pump will quickly just stop. I think the default for that is about 20 minutes, and then we'll just spin that up again, and away it goes. Okay, so it is the evening here in Australia. I've just adjusted my lights up so we can see what's going on a little bit, because they were getting dark and pretty blue. This is the last part of the tank test, so you can see the Stream 3 is running here horizontal. It's at about 50% with the pulse. You can see it's moving a lot of water. In my tank, which is quite small, I actually can't turn it up much more than this. You can probably see there's already a bit of sand blowing around. If I turn it up any more than this, I imagine I'm going to turn the tank into a bit of a snow globe. So this thing has no problem at all moving a lot of water, and I imagine, you know, if you had a good sized tank, you could crank this thing up to a lot more flow than what I'm doing here, and you know, you can have no problems whatsoever. Alrighty, welcome back to the dining table. Like any good Yorkshireman, I've got myself a mug of tea. Just going to wrap up this Stream 3 review, and basically, you know, what did I like about the Stream 3? Well, it's got absolutely stacks of power. It's really flexible in how you can mount and use it. Very, very easy to use, very, very simple. I mean, you know, look, what's not to like about a 5-year guarantee? I found the Stream 3 to be very, very quiet. Despite what I thought at first about the size of the unit, and a few people sort of expressed concerns about, you know, the form factor of the unit. I think I've shown in the video that even in quite a small tank like mine, actually it's very, very easy to conceal this pump. I like the flow pattern that it produced. I think, you know, if you've got LPS or soft corals in your tank, it's probably sort of a bit of a gentler flow, and I like the way it got a really nice sort of almost a Gaia circulation that managed to lift the gonioperas in my tank up, and it looked really, really good, looked nice. I'm going to be testing the Tunze aquarium controller in future with this, so you can, you know, we can get an idea what different types of flow patterns that you can achieve with it. In the next video, I'm going to look at backup options. So I think I mentioned in the first video that unlike a proprietary backup battery, the likes of what Vortech would provide, Tunze basically provide this safety connector, which is effectively a switch and a fuse, and then basically you're free to choose whatever you know, compliant battery that you would like. So there's no lock-in. I really like that option. I see online that a few people have managed to hook them up to solar panels as well, so I'm going to get myself down to Battery World and we'll see what we can get happening with that. Now, what did I not like about the Tunze Stream 3? Actually very little. There is not much that I can fault about this pump. Obviously I've only had this thing for a very, very short period of time. So what I'd like to do is come back to it after, you know, a few months use. I think that's only fair. You know, I've had my tank running for 2 years, so I'm very familiar with the equipment, how it's worked, what the reliability has been like, and service and that kind of thing. At this stage, I can't comment on this, but you know, what I do like is, I've said it before, you know, this has got a 5-year warranty now. From my point of view, that means that Tunze have got a lot of confidence in this product, and you know, compared to their competitors, you know, 5 years to 1 year, for me, you know, that's a no-brainer. I think the cost difference is minimal. It's very, very flexible pump. You know, you can run it from a small amount of flow to a huge amount of flow. But you know, again, back to what did I not like? Actually, you know, just one thing. I think for Tunze, this is the simplest
negative in the world for them to fix it. What did I not like? You know, what I did not like was the hairnet. This thing is provided, you know, to go over the pump and to protect it from, you know, anemones and shrimps and things getting in. So it's, you know, on a Vortech you get a foam cover. With this you get this thing which is an elastic with kind of mesh. Now, sounds great in practice, but you know, I can tell you immediately that I you know, put this on and I was fitting the pump into the tank. It snagged on some coralline and it just unraveled. You can probably see there's a decent hole in that. Tunze, seriously, this thing is useless. Okay, let's just throw that away. You need to have another look at that. Apart from that, this is a fantastic pump. It will be staying in my tank. Really happy with it, and I hope to come back to you in the future and talk more about how it's actually performed over time. Okay, adios.